So I'm likely to do 2 Warhammer videos this week, Age of Sigmar related, because although I was expecting to get the Age of Sigmar 2nd edition stuff on Monday, and this is from someone, if you haven't been watching my series, who hasn't played Age of Sigmar. I played Warhammer stuff just over 10 years ago, getting back into it, and but I've ordered some things before as I was trying to get into it, and they were incapable of delivering it on Saturday. It's like, no matter what I do, it's like, there's no Saturday delivery option. Okay, next day delivery, I'll order it Friday morning, and it'll arrive Saturday. No, it won't. It'll arrive on Monday. Oh, crap. So, when I advanced ordered the big set, I wanted the big set because I'm a new player, so I'll get everything. Big set. And I thought, no, it won't arrive. It'll arrive on Monday. I'll get it delivered to work. So, I woke up this morning, and my email, it was, saying, oh, your stuff's on its way. And I thought, okay. It said that before, and then arrived on the Monday. But then I looked at the address, and it had my home address. I thought, no, I put down my work address. What are you doing? And but it all worked out. Somehow it all worked out because it got delivered today. I've actually got it now. So I'm going to unbox it. So this is basically a new player's unboxing of Age of Sigmar 2 with some thoughts on the stuff in it at the end of it. So hope you enjoy it. Well, this is the last game of Warhammer I played, tabletop wise anyway. So I guess we can archive that one and have a look what we've got now. I'm a little overwhelmed with everything here. I knew that I was getting the big old set for, someone who's needs to spend a load of money because they don't have any of the bits yet. I suppose we'll start with the main box, which we can see in here, obviously, Stormcast Eternals and Nighthaunt. I'm wasn't necessarily going to get everything, of course, because the model is not really worth it unless you're going to play them. But then I was looking at it and thinking, well, I do want to get an undead army, and the models in it look pretty nice. They certainly could form the core of an undead army I'd be happy to go with. And the Stormcast Eternals, well, they also look pretty interesting as well. So, I definitely feel that I'd be building up to that. Now, it's covered in some sort of force field here. So let's just dispel that. Right. Oh, slidey open box. I see. Okay. Put that over there. Even though this is what I'm actually most excited about, because, of course, the core rules are available for free download. So I've been reading those. I'm trying to get acquainted with those. In the last video, a couple of people pointed out a couple of things I'd missed on it. Thanks very much for that. I will endeavour to get better there. But the General's Handbook, of course, contains all the stuff that I don't know. Right, let's also remove this. Now, the push fit models. This is my first look at them. I've heard about these. They weren't around when I was last playing Warhammer. I guess the main advantage of these is that, if you're just someone who wants to get a few models, it's quite overwhelming probably to get into Games Workshop stuff in all its misplaced glory. I mean, I'm returning to it after over 10 years, and the amount of money I've spent so far is quite a lot. I'm not even going to tell you how much. For getting, the paints and the other equipment, not to mention the models, which I've only really just begun on. Whereas the idea with these, put them together really quickly and easily. I suppose you'll still need plastic glue, but, just relatively quickly and easily. And, if you don't want to be painting them to begin with, then that's totally fine. For someone just getting into it, then you don't have to do that. These bases look interesting. So, does that mean... I'm just trying to see here. Some of the bases have got slots in them. Some of them have just got like hexagonal holes in them. So yeah, I'm just looking here. Okay. Sorry if this is all passé for you, but it's new for me. Yeah. Okay. So that's just for sticking the feet in there. So you don't even necessarily need the plastic glue. Maybe that's part of it as well. Well, there we go. So, okay, the old models. That will be the last thing I really come to, because the army I'm building at the moment is a Skaven army. So, you know, these guys will probably not see the light of day until about September or something, all being well. Now, the core book. Now, I've sort of seen this as well. Now, this I quite like. Let's just... Anything hiding in there? Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Right. Oh, you could use this as a dungeon screen, playing a bit of Dungeons and Dragons. So, standard dice, although I seem to have other dice with it as well. Large bases, presumably for some of the models. Next step, that's advertising stuff, great. Soul Warsy thing. What is this? Sample chapter. Oh, book. Part of a book. Okay, more advertising, basically getting to try and buy books. Transfers. The Stormcast Eternals. Never really used transfers before. Not that I'm great at like, coming up with my own designs on them, but I've never really bothered with those. I prefer the old style range rulers. I don't think I'll be using that. Obviously they've got to put something in for it, but it's a bit... What's the point of that? The old ones, narrow, well, relatively rigid. Obviously they were bendy, but you know, they didn't flop over like that. That needs a bit of Viagra, that. No, I'll not be using that one. I want a big base. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll put all this back in here. That can stay in there. So, what have we got in here? These War Scrolls? These are War Scrolls, okay. Well, that's quite weird because there was a separate little special pack of War Scrolls as well, which this pack, I'm pretty sure, was the free ones, but it was like only if you advanced ordered it online. I'll need to compare those a bit later, maybe. See what different ones there are in it. So, I'm going to need some way of keeping things like this neat and together, aren't I? And I don't think this little sleeve is going to do for the long term. Quite similar to the War Scrolls I got in the Grand Alliance Death book. And this will be the one for the Undead, the Night Taunt. So, this is the meat of it. I'm just going to put these here. I'm going to put that over there as well, because this is what I'm interested in. Battle, are these... Is this just fluff, or is this going to have battle plans in as well? It looks like a bit of background to the units in it, with some heavy metal pictures in there. Is there going to be a battle plan? Pitch battle profiles, that's just giving you examples. Points noted in here. They've been lacking in most of the literature. But anyway, that seems to be background. The core rules, of course. Now the core rules are also supposed to be in here as well, but the vast majority of this particular book, more bloody force fields. I suppose I should call them Mystic Shields now. So although this is supposed to contain the core rules, obviously this is more like the size of an old fantasy battle book, so it's mostly background and pictures. Where are the actual rules in here? Lost the index again. There it is. Matched play games in the back with some battle plans. So is this all background? This looks like background. Background. Oh, nice little bookmark, good. Core rules, these are the ones, of course, that we should also... Is it in here? No, it's not in there. Lost it already. Core rules. And this is just the same as in here, yes. So, separate one with just the rules in there, so I can throw away the PDF I printed out. There were a few things in here that were a little bit ambiguous, I have to say, though, as a brand new player to it all, who hasn't read loads of FAQs that Blizzard Games Workshop have been producing over the last few years. But hopefully the General's Handbook will explain all that. Allegiance stuff. Yeah, so there's plenty in here I need to read up on in the next few weeks as I keep changing my army as I read more rules and learn more things. Match play games, whole section on here, right. Definitely want to read this. Do definitely want to read it. So, rule book number 1 with everything in it. Core rules on their own. What is this? Instructions on how to put stuff together. Lovely, fine. That can go in there. Real men don't use instructions. Start here. Getting started. Right. Collect, build, paint, play. Seems fairly straightforward. And some background there. So, those are the books. Those are the War Scrolls. Now, I am just going to have a quick look at these War Scrolls to compare. Because these were the free sets that you don't get necessarily with the, you know, with if I'd gone into a store and just bought this set, I'm not supposed to get these. It was a while stocks lasting. So, what is it that's so special about them? Right, there's Guardian Souls on the top, so let's just try and find Guardian of Souls, I should say. So let's just try and find that. Guardian of Souls here. So what's the difference here? They look identical. They're identical. What? Did I just get a spare set of them? I'm not quite getting this. Is it, obviously, I suppose this is a game for 2 players. Is it just so that you can each have a set, so you can look at your opponent's War Scrolls as well for decided strategy? Maybe it's that, I don't know. Strange, but nonetheless, it basically means I've just got 2 sets of the nice glossy War Scrolls. In terms of other bits and pieces, command and status dice, scenery dice. So again, I haven't really read up. I've glanced at rules for these sorts of things. The scenery, I guess, is an optional extra. First time I play the game, whether we use the scenery rules or not, I'm not sure. We may or may not, because both of us will be playing it for the first time. Wound counters. I have to say, when I played Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and hopefully I've still got all my original dice, I had a whole series of very small dice that I used to use for wound counters. They were, I think I'd prefer those. These are a bit big, really, but I suppose you only need them 1 per unit, so, but you know. But yeah, I'm not sure that personally I like those. Now this, the distance gauge for like combat, close combat. I mean, this is, I think this has already been out. I don't think this is anything new. 3 inches across the top, 2 inches down there, 1 inch there, half an inch there. But useful, useful. Now, into other things. Now, Shattered Dominion objectives. So these are, again, we're straying into sort of rules I haven't really read up on yet. I mean, I have seen a battle plan where there are sort of 6 items on the battlefield, like, you know, locations. And the aim is for an attacking army to try and get around them until it finds what it's looking for, and a defending one to try and head them off. Maybe it's for that sort of thing. You know, special battle plan rules. And again, apologies if some of these is just stuff that's been out for a while. And it's all new to me. You know, I don't know which is, apart from what's in that box, I don't really know what is actually new out and what has just come in this set, because I bought, oh, what's that here? More instructions for the peasants. The old tombs here bring me back to Hero Quest days. It's really additional rules, isn't it, for those that have played a few games and got used to the core rules. Malign Sorcery, Battle Magic Expansion. Now, I am completely in the dark about this, but I have noticed, looking at the core rules, that magic looks a little bit limited in this game. You might think I'm a bit mad getting things I don't even know what they are, but I'm going to get into it. I want to get into it in a big way. Okay, so have a look at the cards first. I'm going to have to read up on this because I haven't got a clue. Not a Scooby-Doo. Oh, these are things you buy separate as part of your army, but they're not really fighting models, they're just there for magical benefit. Well, that sounds interesting. So, okay, this makes sense now, because when I was looking on the army builder, I was noticing there were things you can get as part of your army and spend points on that are not really actual models in the normal sense. You know, included scenery and things like that. That's interesting. Okay. This is what I've really been looking forward to. This is what I've been hankering after a while, because of course, you know, and I know some people might just for their first few games of Age of Sigmar just play with whatever as was originally intended, but that's complete nonsense for me. Matched play is the only real way to do it. Okay, these... Oh, battle plans. Oh, nice cards, okay. Tell you what I'd really like, though. For something like this, I mean, individual cards are fine. I mean, there's benefits in cards, and there's benefits in having stuff in a book. You could have best of both worlds. If they came on slightly larger cards, hole punched with a small little file or something, you could, you know, put them in and then take out which one is necessary. Maybe that one wouldn't stand the test of time, though. Anything with a ring binder, I suppose, eventually too much stress gets put on it. But, okay, battle plans. We'll have to have a flick through there and see which ones do we decide to play when I'm at Warhammer World in just over a month. What have we got here? Gift of the Gods. Lovely, nice. Do we draw these randomly? I have no idea. I can see there's an awful lot of rules I'm still completely unfamiliar with. The core rules, as I suspected, don't really tell you half the story. Aerial battles objective. Deployment. Have a look at this. Deployment. See an example of a deployment card. Oh, okay. Gives you random ways to set up. Oh, okay. This is a bit like Cluedo, where you draw different types of card, and there you go. That's the murderer. Miss Scarlet with the lead piping in the library. Number turn. What's wrong with good old-fashioned dice for keeping the number turn if necessary? I know, obviously, a little bit different to Warhammer Fantasy Battle, because it isn't just a case of, you know, someone takes the first turn and then it just alternates after that. That for each sort of turn, you roll to see which player gets it. So one player might have 2 turns consecutively, effectively. Counters. Don't really like counters. They're very fiddly. I always prefer some other way of dealing with anything that counters can do, like dice. The General's Handbook. Now, this is my bedtime reading. This is definitely my bedtime reading. One of the first things I want to know, because there's various things I've sort of been able to infer from the rules, is about battalions. Now, I get that, you know, each sort of type of army has certain battalions, which says, right, if you have these units in your army, you can have this battalion, you get special rules for them, special bonuses. But it seemed to suggest when I was reading into it that it's not enough just to have those units in your army. You have to pay extra to be able to get the battalion bonus. I'm not entirely sure, and it's reading into this that will let me know that. Some points being shown here. Clan Scryer, let's have a look, what do I remember? Rattling Gun, 80 points, that's the same. Clan Pestilence, Plague Claw, 160, I can't remember actually whether it's 160 or 180 now. Plague Priest is 80 though, that's the same. Plague Furnace, oh, Plague Furnace 180 points, that was 200 points. So that's changed. What are these asterisks? There's asterisks on some of them. Do the asterisks potentially talk about points changes? Because I am looking at the ones with an asterisk by their name, and they tend to be the ones that look to me to be different. Updated profiles. Whenever we publish a new edition of the General's Handbook or a new battle tome, we review, update and fine-tune the pitch battle profiles for all the models. This means that the profiles printed here take precedence over any profiles with an earlier publication date. Oh, here it is. Profiles that have changed since their last publication are marked on the following pages with this symbol, the asterisk. So yeah, oh, so my stuff's got a bit cheaper by the looks of it. All the items that I recognise that seem to be cheaper. Oh, excellent. Oh, good. So, I've got lots of publications now. Lots of literature to look through. So, battle tomes and things like that. Stuff with the actual stats in and some background to various armies. Rules of various types. And White Dwarf. Now, with the White Dwarf, I've just started obviously subscribing to that again. This is the first of the new ones. This is the first White Dwarf I've looked at for 10 years. I hope this is typical of the way they are now, because I like this. It's got some. It seems to have something for everything they do, which wasn't always the case with White Dwarfs. So I'll see what that's like over the next few issues as well. There are some things about the way they sort of organise things. The way it seems to be built up, Age of Sigmar, is we start off with the core rules. These are just the basics. And you've got then war scrolls that you need, which you can download for free off the website. You just look at the model. Oh, I've got this model. Where's the war scroll for it? Okay, there's the war scroll. And that all seems fine. And you can play your games. And in theory, all you need to do is to buy models. You don't need any of these things, because you can download the core rules for free as well. And you'd be able to play games. However, what they do is they then build on layers upon layers of the game. Now, they've done that before very successfully with Games Workshop games before. They've did it well with Warhammer Quest, for example. There were basic rules for Warhammer Quest, and then there was extra advanced rules, and then there were extra advanced rules on top of that, and so on. And that all works really well. Here, I'm not so convinced, though, because the problem is that you have to carry around with you multiple things. So you've got the core rules, and okay, you could, carry around the big core rule book, because that's got a few things in as well. Some of the things in here also the General's Handbook. And then you want your war scrolls. Well, okay, you could just print those out for free, or you could take, one of the battle tomes as well, and that's okay. But then you're definitely going to need a General's Handbook, because that's got the points values in it. So, you're talking about multiple things. And then, of course, there's the extra rules in the Malign Sorcery and stuff like that. So for someone who wants to play all the rules, there's so many things that you should really take around with you, carry around with you. Obviously not all of this, but the army you're playing, you want the battle tomes for that, or the war scrolls for that, which you could reduce the space of that. We could sort of not have to carry these around, because you just print out the ones you need. Okay, fair enough. But are you then going to be taking this around? Are you going to be taking this around? You're going to be taking this around? Or if you've got the General's Handbook, I suppose just these ones would do, because the extra stuff that's in here, rules-wise, is in the General's Handbook, as far as I can tell. It's just multiple things. So the layers, I don't think necessarily fit as well for someone who wants to add all those layers onto it. I don't understand what the problem is with just putting the points values on the war scrolls. If they want you to buy extra books to get the extra rules on how to use those points, fine, that's okay. But I don't understand why the points wouldn't be on the war scrolls as optional extras, and to make it clear it's optional. Now, the way the war scrolls are arranged as well is sometimes less than ideal, I find, as well. Now, one thing I found, there's a few examples of this, and I wish I'd have noted down all the examples. So take Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, for example. So it says in the description, a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon is single model. Many of these Vampire Lords wield a Death Lance for maximum damage on the charge, whilst others slash their foes with a Vampiric Sword. So I understand that. You choose between those two weapons. Okay? You choose one of them. Then it says, some carry an ancient shield emblazoned with dark heraldry. Separate sentence. And at that point I'm thinking, well, it's saying some, that suggests that I still, again, have to choose. That's another choice. So if I want to take the shield, well, I can't take the lance or the vampiric blade. Is that correct or not? Because it's a separate sentence now. But then it says, some carry an ancient shield, and a few also bear a chalice of blood. Also to what? Does that mean I choose between the lance and the sword, and then I get to choose between the shield or the chalice? Or, well, because it's saying in the same sentence that the shield and also some bear the chalice as well. It's like, well, they can take a shield and they can also take a chalice. Well, why wouldn't you? I don't actually know what the options are for this Vampire Lord. It's not clear. And it would be much better if it actually just gave the options in a very unambiguous way. And things like this, because the problem is they've tried to put the options in prose, they've written it as a paragraph there, and whoever's written it, sorry, doesn't have the literary skills, or they've just rushed it. Maybe they do have the literary skills, but they've rushed it and fluffed it, because I don't really understand exactly what the options are. So that's annoying. And maybe veteran players do, because maybe other people have had the same issue and it's been clarified somewhere. But that's where I need it to be read and really clear. Coming to the General's Handbook. So I've read up on a few of the rules now. So I get the idea of battalions now. For a small game, that our first game is going to be quite small, so that's not going to be suitable at all. The bonuses are not going to be worth the quite severe points cost for a battalion, unless you've got very large units within that battalion, I think. One thing I did find interesting, though, is that when you're building your army up, and this is a mindset I'm going to have to get myself out of. So I'll be in the mindset of, okay, build up these models for this army. Whereas when you're eventually playing all the full rules, which again I won't be to begin with, but eventually, you know, you'll be spending points on things that are not directly models. I mean, I've already talked about, you know, the Malign Sorcery. There's options there. There's the scenery, apparently, there's options there. And, you know, battalions, organising your things into battalions. And at the end of it, again, a bit of ambiguity. Now, Flesh Eater Courts. This is what there was a couple of things in, you know, the command traits that I was a little concerned with. Flesh Eater Courts, so on. So every allegiance has a page with one of these in, but not every allegiance. When I look at the death options, where the points are, so we've got the Flesh Eater Court units. That's fine. That's got, you know, those options in that other section. Then you've got Legions of Nagash. Now, this contains a lot of the units that I'd be interested in, but it doesn't have an entry for the allegiance abilities. But it is an allegiance. It's just not there. It doesn't have options for that. Is it missed out? Is it deliberately not supposed to have any options there? That sounds a bit strange. Maybe when I've finished reading, if I look up in here, maybe there'll be some options in here, but surely they're supposed to be in here. So that's something that, again, is a little strange. Now, when we look at the ones that are in here, because as far as I can tell, the other allegiances have them. When we look in the core rules, Artefacts of Power, it says, these treasures are born to war by mighty heroes. If the allegiance abilities for your army include any artifacts of power, so again, there it is alluding to the fact that not all allegiances have them. But it seems to me that, well, I've only found one example that doesn't. I'm sure if I went through it all, I'd find a few others. But it seems to me that there's very few of them. And I don't think any allegiances as large as that Servants of Nagash seem to be missing one. But okay, it does suggest here that not all of them have one. Include any artifacts of power. You can choose or roll for one to be carried by a hero from your army. Well, why the hell would you choose to roll if you can just choose whichever one you want? You know, and that's how it's laid out. There's like a D6 here. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it would make most sense if, with, say, matched play, that you randomly roll which one you get, rather than choose. And maybe the choice is for the open play or the narrative play or something like that. Or maybe in the narrative play it's determined. But it doesn't say that. It's like giving you the choice. But by giving you the choice between those two things, it's a bit mad. It's like saying, do you want to choose which of these weapons or abilities you want to give to your general? Or do you want to randomly roll it? Well, let's say I was presented with 6 and I couldn't decide. You know, if it's my choice, I'd still have the option of rolling a d6 if I really couldn't make my mind up. Anyway, why have again, it's baffling to me. It can only make sense if in matched play you're supposed to roll for it. But I can't see anywhere where that's what it's saying. So there are an awful lot. I mean, and the ambiguities are not helped by the fact that there are so many publications. Instead of just producing the core rule book, which has all of the rules in it, instead of trying to pretend that the game itself can be explained in this little pamphlet. There's nothing wrong with this little pamphlet for people who don't want the additional match play rules. I get that. Have that separate, no problem. But have everything else in the core rulebook and have the points values on the war scrolls. There should be no need for the General's Handbook. If you want to bring out an annual each year, as happened for Warhammer Fantasy Battle, with some updates in it, there's nothing wrong with that as well. But ostensibly, as soon as it's new, I should just need this. This is all I should need, with all the rules in it. Because the problem is, the way it's all written, it's all over the place. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, right, there's a rule here that I don't get related to this thing. So I should just be able to go in here and there's, you know, however many pages for that rule. Maybe it's 1 page, maybe it's up to 5 pages. Doesn't matter. I'll read everything in that section. And if I still can't find what I'm looking for, I know that it hasn't been properly explained to my satisfaction. Whereas at the moment I'm in a situation thinking, well, I can't find it in here, but maybe I'd find it in here. Oh, I can't find it in here. Maybe it's in the relevant battle tome. Oh, I can't find it in there. And I've got to go through several publications and read quite a lot of things because the same rule might be touched upon in so many different areas that I can't be sure that the rule doesn't exist. So it's going to be tricky learning these rules. I'm sure the community will help. Obviously, I'll keep posting things on Reddit and wherever I can find suitable forums. And someone hopefully will point me to an FAQ. Because I'm sorry, Internet, we don't necessarily just believe you when you say something. But the fact that they haven't made the rules clear, when they're supposed to have come up with a game that's much more easily accessible, easier to get into, seems to me a bit baffling, I have to say. Which I'm sounding really negative at the moment as well, I'm conscious of. Whereas I'm still really excited to be playing it. And obviously when I turn up with my friend who's also new at the game, you know, when we come up against these things, we'll just agree something together and get on with it. There's no problem there. But if I think to myself, I want to play this game according to a standard set of rules, well, I need to know what those standard set of rules are for when I go on to want to play other people as well. But I do like my reading, and I'm very sorry if the camera's shaking. This is the only way I can anchor it at the moment is clamping it to the same desk that I'm banging up and down on. But I'll try and sort something out over the next few weeks later on. But at the moment, that's the only place I can clamp it. But yes, I am excited to be reading all this. I've got plenty of reading to be doing now over the next few months, and while I'm building up my Skaven army, I can really see myself. I might even be able to get to Warhammer World before the end of July, actually, if we're only going to have a small game to begin with as well. So hopefully, in 2 more weeks, I'm off. Now, I've said this before, I'm off work for 6 weeks. At that point, we're really, obviously there's 2 major events this summer, the World of Warcraft expansion, okay, but this is my summer project, and I'll be hoping to be coming back with some battle reports and hopefully finding some larger games as well, and then maybe towards the end of summer starting to eke out into other armies. And I am very much looking at the moment as an undead army to begin with, which is why I'm a little disappointed that the Servants of Nagash don't have those extra rules. But we'll see. I'll read around it and see what we've got. But anyway, thanks very much for watching so far. This is my first Warhammer unboxing. The audio was hopefully better than the Elder Scrolls unboxing that I did a little while ago. I will be updating later on in the week. The reason this isn't coming out on the normal day, I would do it on Thursday, is because I am intended to do another video actually on Thursday. And I was so surprised that I actually got the set as early as I did. I was expecting to get it on Monday. So I'm very pleased about this. I've been quite excited. So thanks very much for watching. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with other people who might also be interested. And until next time, I'll see you later.